repeatable source. Because they can compromise, like a lot of places use multi-factor authentication, such as like Pulse or other stuff for their for your multi-factor authentication. And basically, if they own your user's cell phone, they can spoof your user potentially. So, another endpoint security lesson for mobile. I figure I'd give you that one because those USB cables, they're often used to attack mobile phones or like Android or otherwise, but they can also just as easily, someone plugs in those cables to their PC to charge their cell phone, can also attack them. It's because they're basically just a mini rubber ducky. They may not be able to execute as much mini scripts, but enough to get somebody a footprint in. Operation of hardware, redundant power supply, warranty support for secure network components, especially for power outage to keep you up and running. Implement secure communication channels according to designs. Some places they color code their networks. As far as like voice, some places keep them purple, blue for standard networking. Anything high priority, they might put in orange or red, yellow for crossover, etc. They may have network segmented by design or VLAN trunked by design just to keep the collisions down and or stuff segmented. Domain 5, identity and access management, control and physical logic assets, informational systems, devices, facilities, applications. Federated services, people seen on cloud, Facebook, Google. Single sign-on. Sorry, I skipped a section. Manage identifications and access authentication of people, devices, and service. Identity access management. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jump Cloud. Yes? No?
Oh, sure.
Like this one's free. You can use it for home labbing. Or like a lot of small businesses used it. The Apple mobile device management. Can do radius for like, Wi-Fi access points if you want to beef up their security. You can do SSO. You can also tie it into various other services such as Slack, Google Workspace. Etc. You can also tie it into like on-prem Active Directory and everything else. So you can pretty much get it to go.
Does it work with MS365? Because some of the other SSO solutions I've used just don't work.
Absolutely.
And you
This is
don't
like,
have to hack
yeah.
your Active Directory and run you know run scripts on your Windows machines to make it actually work.
This one here has an agent for Windows you can install with PowerShell. So I can just click devices.
Okay, so you do have to install. You have to run PowerShell scripts on your Windows devices to make it work. But they make it easier.
I'm just saying it makes an agent. It just installs the agent, and then once the agent installs, not too bad. You can also install like policies and stuff like that, or you can also push PowerShell, i.e., Chocolatey, to install stuff. Like if you want like the guest account to be enabled, which you normally don't. Let's say on a laptop you want them to be enabled and display like GPS information, i.e., if you want to use the Prey service account, someone steals one of your corporate laptops. Hey, I'm here. I'm stolen, but I'm here. Come send police. The
Hmm.
other guy, I forget what software he was using, but down at the children's hospital, he had one that tattooed the BIOS. It's like, basically, even if the person tried to wipe out the OS, it would basically say, hey, please drop it off at the security desk. We'll look the other way, if you return it in good working order. Basically, users would give up because his product tattooed the BIOS, so it was unusable except for without their stuff. At the local children's hospital here, the Scottish Rite here in Dallas, I forget what he was using. I'd have to ask him, but praise what I've used since they're open source, but you can also get like licensing for X number of machines on the cheap. Someone steals one of my household laptops, I can basically keep pinging it. The only reason I use the guest account is because if some stupid fool does like a Bing or Google search, I got their location. It's like I know where my laptop is. But yeah, you can get an agent that basically works for that. There's different cloud directories. If you click here, there's G Suite. Like, looks like I need to renew my, token. Uh, but you can import that for Office 365. You can authenticate against Google Suite, or i.e. Google Workspace. It's got baked in for Bamboo. But, it's free for up to 10 users, so you can piddle around with it. It's got Cloud LDAP, so you can configure it. Uh, fairly simple. So you can use it for identity and access management and or use it to bind stuff. So it's particularly simple. If I need to add a new device, you can also use like Puppet. I don't see
Oh,
why they
there you
don't
go.
have. So you can use Puppet, Ansible.
Yeah, see, it does Mac and Linux too.
Yeah, but the Linux, it only supports basically Debian and or others. If I like fuck around with Gentoo, I have to basically build a virtual machine, go harvest the bits of it out of opt, and then slap it on there, and then do some hacking to get it to play nice with Gentoo.
Yeah, but most supported accounts will be RHEL anyway.
I'm saying in my particular use case,
Hmm.
most of my test beds are Gentoo. But like if I was doing appliance-based stuff, like security appliances, yeah, they're going to be Red Hat.
And what's the other one you
Policy
said that was free? The Praise?
Prey.
Pray?
Jump Cloud, you can also install applications. Say if you have a policy group, you can also send it chocolatey commands. You can also install, say, CloudStrike Falcon. Chocolatey update packages. If I push this command, it basically downloads the auto chocolatey command to basically run on the machines in my house. So I literally can just run it, even my wife's computer, stepson's computer, it will do it. But it uses chocolatey. Chocolatey and box starter. Box starter basic. Box starter, you can basically take a minimum, instead of having to do the make your own Windows install distro and snapshot it, you can take a vanilla install image, i.e. like say NT Lite, and then you can just have it run a post install script that basically adds Jump Cloud, adds Box Starter. Box Starter automatically adds chocolatey.
Cool.
So if you also, chocolatey integrates with SSCM. So it basically is nice to keep my stuff up to date, because that's the other thing. But as I was saying, instead of me having, the other one you can get is WinGet. But Prey, basically you can use to track down a stolen laptop. You can also have an API key. You can also have like parameters that set the key. Wazoo agent, you can install here too for the SIEM that I mentioned. So easy peasy.
Thanks. It's useful data.
And Jump Cloud, I can give it to you. You know, here it's free of charge for 10 users or less. So
Donnie already pasted a Jump Cloud link. Thanks, Donnie.
No worries. I was snooping around trying to. I see he has the console area, but you were asking the questions about the software interaction requirements and what would be needed to running scripts against it. According to its website, it says there would be nothing needed other than just to install and run. That's why I actually did the jump for why Jump Cloud.
Right, right. So it install and run the Jump Cloud agent, which probably runs the scripts that, I'm using something called Rippling. And
yeah,
their MS365 integration just does not work.
I'm just saying this integrates with lots of stuff. I mean, it has like different cloud directories. You can use it for SSO. You can also get even an agent for on-prem Active Directory to run it against the local server, and it makes it very easy to bind against it. You can even have Intune stuff. You can even manage stuff with Intune with this. You know, it's got some free stuff. I mean, we used it at my last company too. But I've had my own instance for a while that you can set up like Office. As you can see, Office 365, GitLab, Zoom. Like devices here, for Windows, you can, premium feature, there's, if you're paying for it, then, there's all kinds of stuff. But as I was saying, you can home lab it, you can play with it from your home machines, but you can push like different stuff. You can add administrators by email. I can manage users, API, staged, email. I don't have any macOS devices, so I don't really care. Set up minimum character length. Yeah, it's like if you can add like a local agent too for like the directory services. So there's even like you can get like a sync tool for a local server. Software management, like for Prey, if I want to make it useful for a laptop, I can say device groups, laptops, number of devices too, and Prey basically just allow end users do it, status, install failed, but anyway, you can use that to install chocolatey packages also. I can use chocolatey, it can use scripts or other stuff like that. Do it, so, very useful, but I'm saying chocolatey, what I've always done is take, like, if I want to make like a small business install that doesn't require like Active Directory, you can use usually like NT Lite. NT Lite, you can basically pack all of the updates into like a standard Windows installer that installs like normal. Then you can basically have all of the corporatification, scripts run after install, so it's clean. That basically you can just have it install the same packages, you know, for your basic corporate user, and Chrome and the usual, or all the nice pretty logos for the company and stuff like that. You can set as a script that does it, and NT Lite will do it nicely. So if you don't need to do a sus install and you just have a USB key, then great. So, the Windows server is a little bit nicer at doing it, but since I have an apartment, I'll take what I got. Home lab use, it's not a bad toy to have. The Jump Cloud is. Federated identity with third-party services, like on-prem, hybrid. Of course, Jump Cloud, you can also have different key strengths, such as forcing YubiKey for certain users or certain contexts. Yay. Of course, our fun type of access controls, military's got those: role-based access control, discretionary access control, and attribute access controls, and risk-based access control, and mandatory access control. It's top secret and you don't have the need to know. So, fun times. Manage the identity and provisioning lifecycle. Count user access, role definition, assign people to new roles, privilege escalation. Of course, we can talk all day about Windows privilege exploit. Privilege exploitation on Windows, etc. It's a common problem. It's not having it hardened enough can do stuff in bad contexts. account access review, like if you haven't stigged the system properly, or certain people, need to be provisioned or deprovisioned or offboarded or transferred. Like certain users may not need certain access rights. If they're promoted from like IT manager to like CISO, they may have certain rights as a CISO that they don't need anymore. Uh, because they can delegate those down to y'all, and they don't need them anymore. So that way they don't have privilege creep and privileges that they don't need, and other things that make getting their particular user account, if they should have got it compromised, more of a problem if they did. So like user gets promotion, they're no longer in XYZ department, uh, changes job in the organization. They were in the mailroom and then they suddenly got their law degree and now they're in legal. Well, their privileges and access rights need to be, changed. So they don't have access to the mailroom stuff and or logistics software now that they have just access to legal stuff. So the role definition, that's basically, it's much easier in most large organizations to have role-based access controls. And in some cases, like depending on their job role, especially if it's like hybrid, in a small business, they might have a role-based and like a discretionary access control. But it gets more and more tedious in larger organizations to, not use multiple roles. So you might have like a role for manager, like low-level manager, junior manager, and user, and like IT service desk user, for like if they're help desk manager, for instance, they might be in all three roles to composite out their role, because it's much easier to add, junior manager, IT, assistant manager rights, based on those particular assertions, and a service desk manager and or service desk user also, so they can see those particular things. Military, they'll do like, depending on like, especially if they have mandatory access control, they'll, that's usually classification, all good fun. All right, I'm going to say it's lunch 30, so if you need to do any labs or such, might be a good idea to try and drop on those and play around with the test banks for a bit and grab a bite. 45,
Will do.
45
about what? 45? Yeah, that sounds good.
45 to an hour sound fair?
Yeah, man.
Cool beans.
All right. See you then.
Online testing at home, so I'm assuming it's proctored kind of like in college where there's somebody watching you.
Right. They probably are watching like 10 people at a time.
Yeah, I haven't had to do any of those in college so far, so it was kind of threw me for a curve.
And where are you guys at, by the way?
I'm in
the
Georgia.
Bay Area. You're in Georgia. I'm in the Bay Area in a little town called San Rafael outside San Francisco.
Wow, opposite ends of the globe, man.
Oh yeah, practically.
Yeah, Facebook offered me a job for like $267,000 in the Bay Area. I'm like, all right, no way.
Well, the thing is that you'd probably have to go to their campus. And for that, you can't get a house down there for less than about
15 grand a month.
Yeah, 1.75 million. to buy minimum like a shack. And
Yeah,
what? 2.25 if you want
Dude.
something decent.
Okay, I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum.
yeah,
Yeah,
Texas,
so
it might be.
267 sounds pretty good until you get to the point where you actually have to go and figure out what the cost of living is.
My house cost 267,
Right, exactly.
and I've got 4,600 square feet.
Exactly.
This is why I'm on the East Coast, I guess.
I'm in
But you can make
Texas,
it
so
work.
it's.
Don't come to Silicon Valley. I've been working in the Valley my whole career, and it's crazy.
Let's put it this way: most people are moving to Texas because they can get a house, they can get a McMansion here for $500K.
Yeah, my daughter just bought a 5-bedroom house in Illinois for 340.
I mean, we used to live in Indianapolis, but then like when the recession hit, the Great Recession hit, all the flipping jobs pretty much died.
That's why being self-employed is the best option.
Um, Easier said than done. I watched my small business burn.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I've had a consultancy going for about the last 25 years. It's worked out really well.
here's your Georgia information, by the way. If that makes any sense to you.
Warner Robins Air Force Base, Middle Georgia chapter for ISC2. Know where
Now,
that's
for
at.
the, so
New
that'll be
Atlanta.
so that will be in the your Georgia area. Now for our
California.
California. I'm sure there's one in San Francisco.
Silicon Valley.
there's Expensicon Valley. I mean, yeah.
Silicon Valley. There we go.
There's one North Bay would be closest to me, Nevada.
So yeah, there will be that. Like some of them have like up there.
Sweet.
San Francisco chapter. That might be where it's out of Sacramento. There's the IC locator, so let me drop those in the chat.
Thank you, Michael.
Anyway, I'm just saying Indianapolis used to be cheap, but you can get 3 CPEs for attending the chapter meetings, and plus it's kind of helpful. If there's any trade shows near you, like in Atlanta or whatever else, or let's put it this way, San Francisco, yeah, there's probably more trade shows than there are even with Dallas.
Yeah, RSA is this week.
So if you go, you can get some nice swag. Get some water bottles. You can get some nice $35 water bottles, especially if they're not charging you at the door. Especially the free ones are good, but you can get all kinds of swag. You can get all kinds of product knowledge, for what's out there and what it does. So I'd recommend that because then you can get some CPEs to drop into the kitty once you pass the test.
Nice. Hey, Mike, I got a question. Have you dealt with the military folks at all as far as like Army skill port for doing CPEs? Or had questions about it?
I've just for like myself, but I'm kind of new to the instructing game as far as Sprintzeal is before. It's like, used to I was just doing security engineering and I do the, awareness training bits when I had to. I've had classes, in the corporate sense, like, hey, welcome to, Security 101. Please don't click that email, right?
Yep. The only reason I was asking is because I know the DoD does a skill portal where they offer all of our CE courses, like for my Security Plus, to keep it current. It has the list of classes that you have to
Yeah,
take in order to be CE
I'm just saying,
qualified.
I will show you this here. It's like if you're here for this, like if I go here, just say my profile. I don't know if they're bother to put me up to date next, but CPE portal, yay, love that one. But like if I add a CPE right now, if I had this, I can export my current, transcript here. Because right now I haven't kicked over, like until June hits, then I can dump all the CPEs for the last 3 conferences I've gone to and the other one, and then nuke it out of the water. Whereas of now, but anyways, the think tank, so you can go to IC squared events, Security Congress. I'm just saying the nicety of this particular certification, you can take your whole nice transcript and print the transcript, and then you can log into the CompTIA folks and drop it in their lap and not have to deal with it. So basically I've got all of these, and then I've like, here we go, here's 15 CPEs, CompTIA folks, I'm good for like see you next year. Like soon as I fill out my transcript here for the year, I drop it in their lap. I'm good.
Cool.
So I'm just saying, especially if you already have your Security Plus, this basically trumps it. So win-win. Any CPEs here, I can drop on them.
Definitely. That's part of the reason I'm taking this course. I'm tired of trying to keep the Sec Plus up to date. It's a larger number of CEs or continuing education requirements.
This right now I've got 15 CPEs because I've got my associates. I've got to go play the stupid endorsement game since I've got enough time and all that crap. You know, thanks to some kid, on the East Coast that had like his master's degree at 18 years old or 19, I've got to play hardball. Yeah, but oh well. The other certification they have here I could take is like a concentration and get my ISEMP, and then I get that right away. Yay. For the engineering bit. Now the other one for management or compliance and all that other fun. But yeah, I can drop in my CPEs and dump it the heck on them. So yay. Like that's the nicety of CompTIA. Right now I owe them money, but at this point, since I owe them as much money as it is, I might as well just go, take like the CYSA and drop it in their portal. So it's like, hey, it's like $325 I owe them, $325 to take the CYSA test, get my analyst certification. So why not? So I didn't realize I'd fallen behind on payments with them, but I had with COVID going on, everything was all nuts. And like 7th edition, I think. Yeah, Sarbanes, Oxley, GLBA, blah, blah, blah. This one's probably got a better risk register here, like, you know, it's got a more risk register based out of stuff. So might go over this. Of course, you know, risk controls, mitigations, and like insurance. You know, a lot of places love insurance, but nowadays, you know, here's like the table of risk management. You know, you can do scoring. How likely is a laptop to be stolen? How likely is it to be this or that? Companies know laptops are likely to be stolen, so they encrypt the crap out of them. So that isn't a problem. So like this is like the risk register that a lot of places will use for scoring and managing risk. This particular case, you know, how high it is, almost certain, moderate, like certain extreme risk, catastrophic, how you know much impact it's going to take. Then here's like how much asset value costs. You know, like the laptop may only be $750, but the data on it has a value too. Annual rate of occurrence, annual loss expectancy, total cost of ownership. You know, then you can factor out this kind of stuff. You know, that's kind of why people didn't defend against our friends at the NSA with the supply chain attack, because, you know, the $1 in a billion hack that wasn't supposed to ever leak, or the software vendors, you know, come across it eventually and patch it out of existence, you know, what was supposed to happen. And, you know, basically, unless you're a nation state actor and like North Korea or China or Russia that gets a hold of the same thing, does it, then it's sort of like an attack that cost $1 billion to defend against. And, you know, for most businesses, that's not a, you know, strategy of value. So, you know, government actors, yeah. But, you know, I'm just saying if it's a one in a billion attack with a $1 billion price tag to defend against, then most people tend to put that on their, you know, back burner type deal. But if it's, you know, the cost, most businesses will see how much it costs, like, you know, if their data center is valued at like $10 million, if flooding happens, like here in, say, Texas, there's at least a 1 in 100 or 300-year event in some parts of it here that the flooding could get over 15, 20 feet. As most of Texas is classified as a low-lying floodplain anyway. Or if it's an area of Houston, you know, pretty much every 4 years, so 0.25. So then basically they can amortize the loss of your data center at that, and then basically, you know, put back extra money just in case, you know, your cyber insurance wants to get nasty about your data center taking a swim. I don't know how the people in Houston do it, but I've seen the whole place after a flood. It's like, you know, within a week or so, it's like it never happened, except for a few places. It's like they rebuild the apartments, hotels, and offices back like gangbusters. So basically, most places are on mostly on the civilian side, they're on a what makes fiscal sense, type of thing. Uh, you know, there's acceptance of the risk, mitigating the risk, i.e. reduction, transferring the risk, like i.e. insurance. Risk avoidance, we don't issue employee laptops if possible, or we build a data center in an area that doesn't flood. Risk reduction, there's a risk there, but you ignore it. This is never acceptable as you are liable. In some cases, there are secondary risks, like when you apply a mitigation, you might open up another security hole that wasn't intended. NIST 8030, that's usually your big deal. Let me get back down to mine. And I take it you heard of phishing before, correct?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
This lady is like the queen of phishing for this year.
The difference between eCentire and the other vendors out there is it's a true partnership. eCentire helps you sleep at night. If you want to not have to worry about your security, if you want to make sure that you're monitored 24/7.
Our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes. How would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN.
That's what they do for a living. They socially engineer their way into companies when the red teams are there when the company hires a red team to audit them. So some of them are quite good. People are familiar with whaling.
Yeah. I got a lot of that at my company.
Basically spear phishing, but hey, targeting the C-suite. And as I was saying earlier, like Fat Pipe had a business that I know Fat Pipe had a particular software at one point in time, like no one else had. That particular piece of software, but it looks like everybody else has started making it because they were like the only ones for doing it. They focus on networkings, but like it's been a few years, so yeah. This one here, like they automate the automation, like if new people get hired or C-suites, it automates like the contact or disaster recovery software bits, because usually most places love tabletop exercises, but as like the it can also send out alerts to employees like, hey, this active shooter, tornado. Some of these suites can do that, but like instead of like the tabletop exercises and like the someone dies or whatever else, it's key to the business. You know, a lot of places, have it automated because it basically fills the names out. Uh, like this is the one that they have from Fat Pipe. It's like stay in business. Theirs is like cloud-based, so the nicety of it can be used anywhere, like on tablets and so forth. That's what I was thinking of. But it has like this or that, and it also can page people that, hey, we've had a tornado blow over our building, or hurricane, or whatever. Stay home, or COVID's here, etc. Uh, but that was basically it on that one, because a lot of places, playing the morbid tabletop exercises, people may have a laugh or a joke at it, but like literally, like our chapter president, was doing the virtual CISO gig, because there's now a virtual CISO certification. They make lots of money, but let's put it this way: puckering my lips to Coolios is not my best strong suit. Some people have the patience for it. I don't. But a lot of the business continuity plans, like for who to call, who to contact, they tend to fall apart because, like, as I said, he would have business leaders that had retired, and then like they've been retired for 5 years, and then now it's 8 years later, and they died of a sudden heart attack. So it's like if anyone had to follow that business continuity plan, it would fail. Like the nicety of the stay in business one from that Fat Pipe sells, or a few others vendors sell, I guess now. But a few years ago, that was like the only one that did anything like that. It ties into like your HR system and can harvest some of that information and help automate it for your auditors, which keeps them from finding you to death or making you having to regenerate that, you know, because you basically can pick and choose your vendors and update that stuff in the cloud, and it makes the documentation for you. It helps you, centralize your disaster plans, and if your office basically burns to the ground, gets hurricaned or tornadoed off the map, then that's all backed up in the cloud. So basically, if you have to start over at one of the hot or cold sites in your area, then you can do so, because everything's still there. Uh, critical supplier, if they closed, who's your alternate supplier, uh, snowed in, etc. Whether it's a big disaster or a small impediment to your supply chain, it's got that. Um, Basically, a lot of places, if some sites are down for a certain amount of time, they're losing tons of money. So it's basically how much can you be down? What's the minimum tolerable, restore, and then how long for full restore? And what's the recovery time objective to get complete restoration or some stage of restoration? What's the work recovery time? Mean time between failures and mean time to repair, or minimal operation requirements just to get like the basic systems back up. Uh, GDPR fines can be kind of nasty.
Oh yeah.
And it looks like they've got a new acronym for, the opposite of CIA is DAD. All right, here's the other ones that I glossed over for as far as security models. For Bella La Padula, confidentiality, mandatory access control, basically simple security property, no read up. Subjects with secret clearance can't read top secret data. Security property, no write down. Subjects with top secrets can't write, top secret information to secret folders. So it describes basically filtering of any system of classification data. BBUV, as far as integrity, no read down. Subjects with top secrets can't read secret data. Integrity is the purpose here. We don't want wrong user lacking lower clearance. Level data to confuse us. Integer axiom, no write up. Subjects with secret clearance can't write to secret information to top secret. That way they don't screw stuff up. We don't want wrong or lacking lower level information to propagate to a higher level. Invocation property, no read or write up. Lattice-based access control. Subject can have multiple access rights. A subject with top secret, crypto, chemical would have access to everything in this lattice. Subject with secret crypto would only have access to that level. A subject with top secret chemical would only have access to chemical in top secret and secret. These are vastly more complex in real life. Graham-Denning model, objects, subjects, rules. 8 rules can execute on an object are transfer access, grant rights, delete access, read object, create object, destroy object, create subject, destroy subject. That's pretty much like databasing models to me. Clark Wilson for integrity, separation of duties. Brewer Nash, Chinese wall. Yeah, they'll definitely, have Chinese walls discussed potentially on the exam. Like if you have lawyers at a law firm and one's handling one's case and then the other one's handling another team's handling another case, i.e. if one law firm represents two companies and both companies are using the same firm to sue each other. So one team has to go Chinese wall and pretend that they're a separate company within the company. That way each team has no access to the case information, for example. Zachman framework for architecture, they may or may not include on your exam. They sometimes will, and sometimes won't, depending on which version of the test you get. Or at least they'll have some mention of it. Dedicated security model, NDA for all information in the system, formal access approval for all information in the systems, valid need to know for all information systems. All users can access all data. Continued. Of course, I take it you've seen the Rainbow series of books, correct?
Actually, I haven't.
Well, the Rainbow books are some of the older DoD style books for computer processing. Orange book was like basically the predecessor of NIST. Orange book was part of the Rainbow series of books.
No, I studied mostly O'Reilly books.
I meant like the Rainbow books here was basically like, if you can see here, basically trusted network integration, whereas the Orange book is basically these books here were the predecessors of the NIST 800 series books. These are like 1980s and earlier. So some people have seen them. Some of these like contain more information on Tempest and Faraday cages and all kinds of other stuff that that Uncle Langley might have to shoot you for. But I just figured I'd ask. Some people have seen them, some people hadn't. Little historical tidbit.
Are they going to bring concepts from those into the exam, or?
Maybe, but I'm just saying these were the predecessor of NIST. I'm just saying they may not likely, but with this exam, You know, they may ask you what class of fire extinguisher puts out a fire, an electrical fire. And for instance, it might be a UK fire extinguisher code. So they'll ask like what fire extinguisher in the UK puts out, you know, you've recently transferred to a new office in the UK, what class of extinguisher, you know, puts out an electrical fire. So I'm just saying that, you know, not likely to be there, but I was just saying as an interesting tidbit, they may say what series of books help spawn like the NIST standard for chance.
Ah, I see.
ITSEC, that's basically one of the European Information Technology Security Evaluation Criteria. ISO is usually one of their big ones that they'll hound on. The British standard they might hit on as far as that goes, which some of that also fell over into NIST as well as ISO. Like here's the information assurance level EAL for ISO, functionality tested, structurally tested. You know, they may go over this. So I'm just saying the CISSP, it's not like deep per se. The pool's not that deep, but you know, there could be, as I said, there's at least 2,000 possible questions that they could potentially ask, and as the test is spinning up, and you get your pool of 150 questions, you know, it can grab from potentially 2,000 questions out of that pool. Secure, you know, OS designs like layering, like, you know, which like the kernel rings and stuff like that. As far as OS, you know, what space they live in. Usually that was like, you know, 0 or ring 0 that these two would live, and so forth. Ring 3, ring 4. Abstraction, you know, security domains like abstraction, hiding stuff from the user, like hardware abstraction layer, security abstraction layers. So open systems, you know, like open source. Here's what I mean by like memory model. They may ask you on. This is usually the common one for modern operating systems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, standard bus type things, they'll definitely may ask some of that. I didn't get too many Northbridge or Southbridge questions on mine, but you know, you never know. So some of the stuff may or may not be on, but like control units, algorithm, logic unit, basically what the CPU does to data as it processes, how it stores. The memory, they may go over pipelining, threads, multi-threading. So they didn't go too much over that. Memory protection, you know, there's different stuff you can put in the BIOS. Most Linux kernels now, with modern GCC, use kernel randomization, access layer space. It's basically, you know, make it much more harder to buffer overflow applications in it, and tries to separate processes and so forth. So if you've had, you know, A+ or Network+, most of this should be familiar with you.
Yeah, familiar concepts.
TPM, especially useful to keep keys hardened. Often used with secure boot, as well as like drive encryption to speed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Virtualization, a lot of people are familiar with this. I mean, people have seen Citrix and Zen, as well as like Hyper-V. AWS has gotten big at it because they can distribute the same workloads over hundreds of servers or one server.
Mm-hmm.
Only like with Docker and Kubernetes and most VMs, there's VM escape. If they can break into a VM and cause it to escape, then they pretty much can get to the host operating system and or other privileged, much more privileged access and do all kinds of abhorrent things. Basically, if they can escape the VM and get to the hypervisor security, then they can get access to all the other VMs underneath. Like if, there's a Windows Server hypervisor that has your username and accounts that manage other stuff on Windows, then basically it can, it can read and write access and dump the data elsewhere. In the case of like Hyper-V or Zen or ESXi, they're a type 1. Basically, the hypervisor itself runs atop the hardware, and even the management operating system is a guest in itself. Type 2, they're likely to ask the difference on these, so Type 2 is like VMware, on your desktop, and or like, VirtualBox.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that they didn't have on the other sheet. Cloud computing, which is, or hybrid cloud, and commodity cloud computing, such as just like web hosting or WordPress. Private cloud computing like Boeing or the DoD, or they have like a FedRAMP cloud for Amazon that's basically on-prem.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a lot of them have used like VMware for years and won't let go. Resource exhaustion, like, admins oversubscribe the CPU, and, they ascribe more virtual machines running than there's, server space to do so, or they don't have the servers spanning over the cluster to spin up appropriately. Can come back to bite people.
Yeah, it's really common. It's actually a performance trick if you can balance it right.
It can be, but like if you have like a couple servers that crash, then then basically sometimes the people's stacks can be over. You don't have enough servers there to provide the availability. So everything grinds to a halt. Of course, here's your common type, infrastructure as a service. SaaS,